The great station hung in space like a silver flower blooming against the stars. Inside its crystal walls, beings from across the galaxy gathered around tables that bent and shaped themselves to fit different body types. Some delegates sat on chairs. Others floated in gravity bubbles. A few coiled their long bodies around special platforms. Ambassador Hyun-Ki smoothed her dark blue uniform and looked around the main hall. The ceiling showed a live view of the planet below them. Kepler 442b spun slowly, its green and brown continents, peaceful under white clouds. This neutral world had been chosen for the gathering because no species claimed it as home. "The food dispensers are working well today," said Dr. Sora as she approached with 2 cups of coffee. The xenobiologist had been Hyun-Ki's friend since their academy days. Her lab coat had small stains from her morning research, but her smile was bright. "Thank you." Hyun-Ki took the warm cup. The smell of earth coffee always helped her feel more at home during these long diplomatic meetings. "How are your studies going?" "The station's life support systems are fascinating. They can create perfect environments for over 300 different species types." Sora sat down in the empty chair beside her. "But enough about my work. Are you ready for today's session?" Hyun-Ki nodded toward the center of the room where a large holographic display showed the meeting schedule. Today's topic was listed as Cultural Exchange, Survival, and Adaptation Stories. "It should be interesting," she said, "though I suspect we might surprise some of our new friends." The session began when the station's AI spoke in the musical tones it used for formal announcements. "All delegates, please gather for Cultural Exchange Session 7. Today we share stories of how our species survived the greatest dangers of our homeworlds." Thesic, the Vorthak commander, was the first to stand. His scales caught the light as he moved to the speaking area. The reptilian being was tall and powerful, with eyes like black diamonds. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "My people know true fear," he began. "In the deep tunnels of Vorthak Prime there live creatures we call the Bone Hunters. They are as long as 3 of your human automobiles. Their skin can turn to acid that melts through metal. Their teeth can bite through starship hull plating." The gathered delegates listened with respectful silence. Many had heard of the Vorthak tunnel wars. For 500 years these monsters kept my people trapped in the upper caves. We could not mine the deep metals we needed. Our civilization nearly failed. Only when we developed plasma weaponry could we finally drive them back. Even now, it takes a full military squad with heavy weapons to kill just one bone hunter. Thesic's chest swelled with pride. "Last month, my forces destroyed a nest of 12 bone hunters that threatened 3 mining colonies. It was a great victory that will be remembered for generations." The other delegates made sounds of approval and respect. The Nexari delegation, beings that looked like walking crystals, chimed together in harmony. The small furry Cathari squeaked their appreciation. When Thesic returned to his seat, the Nexari scholar Velneth floated to the speaking area. The crystal being's voice sounded like wind through chimes. "My people face creatures even stranger than the bone hunters," Velneth said. "On Nexari worlds there exist beings we call void stalkers. They live in the spaces between dimensions. Sometimes they step into our reality to hunt." The scholar's crystalline body began to glow with soft blue light as emotions affected the mineral structure. "These creatures can walk through solid matter. They can appear and disappear without warning. When they hunt, they drain the life force from living beings. Entire cities have woken to find everyone aged to dust in a single night." Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Our ancestors built great underground sanctuaries with reality anchors that kept the void stalkers away. For thousands of years we lived in fear, hiding from these monsters. Only in recent centuries have we learned to detect them early and evacuate in time. We have never found a way to fight them directly. We can only run and hide." More approving sounds came from the audience. The Cathari delegate, a small being named Pip Pip, spoke next. "On Keth, we face the storm devourers. They are clouds that live and hunt. During the great wind season, they sweep across our world, eating anything with metal in it. Our machines, our tools, even the metal in our blood." Pip-Pip's whiskers twitched with remembered fear. "My great-grandmother told stories of cities. that tried to fight the storm devourers with metal weapons. The cloud simply ate the weapons and grew stronger. We learned to build everything from stone and wood during storm season. We hide in deep caves and wait for the hungry clouds to pass. Other species shared similar tales. The fish-like aquans spoke of deep-sea monsters that could swallow whole submarines. The plant-based Verdani described carnivorous forests that hunted with moving trees and strangling vines. Each story followed the same pattern. Dangerous monsters nearly destroyed their civilizations. They survived by hiding, running, or developing powerful weapons to fight back. Every species in the room had faced extinction from creatures they could barely understand. Finally, attention turned to the human delegation. Hyun-Ki stood and walked to the speaking area. She looked small compared to most of the other delegates, but she moved with quiet confidence. Humans also share our world with dangerous creatures, she began. We have large cats that can leap 15 feet and break a person's neck with one bite. We have bears that weigh 800 pounds and can run faster than our fastest human athletes. We have wolves that hunt in packs and can track prey for hundreds of miles. The delegates leaned forward with interest. They expected to hear another tale of narrow survival and ancient fear. We also have creatures in our oceans with teeth like knives and the power to sense electrical fields from miles away. In our forests live snakes with venom that can kill in minutes. Our skies hold birds with talons that can crush bones. Thesic nodded approvingly. Yes, death worlds produce the most terrible monsters. How did humans survive? Did you build great weapons? Underground cities? Hyun-Ki smiled, and something in her expression made several delegates suddenly uncertain. We made friends with them, she said simply. The great hall fell completely silent. Even the station's background hum seemed to pause. Delegates stared at the small human woman as if she had said something impossible. I'm sorry, Velneth's crystalline voice chimed with confusion. The translation systems may have an error. Did you say you made friends with apex predators? That's correct, Hyun-Ki said. We found that many of these creatures could become partners instead of enemies. We learned to understand them, to communicate with them, and to build relationships based on trust and mutual benefit. Dr. Sora stood and joined her friend. It's true. Humans have been forming bonds with predator species for thousands of years. We call it domestication, but it's really more like a partnership. The silence stretched longer. Finally, Thesic spoke, his voice uncertain for the first time. You mean you use technology to control their minds? Or perhaps drugs to make them docile? No. Hyun-Ki shook her head. No drugs, no mind control, no technology. Just patience, understanding, and respect. These creatures choose to work with us because we've proven ourselves trustworthy. Pip-Pip's whiskers twitched rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among the Cathari. But how do you survive the partnership? Surely many humans die during these attempts? Some relationships don't work out, Sora admitted, but far fewer humans have died learning to work with dangerous animals than died fighting against them. It's actually much safer to make friends. The delegates began to murmur among themselves in dozens of languages. Their universal translators worked overtime as confusion and disbelief spread through the room. Hyun-Ki waited patiently for the noise to die down. When she had their attention again, she smiled that same mysterious smile. In fact, I've brought one of my oldest friends with me to the station. She should be arriving on tomorrow's transport from Earth. Perhaps you'd like to meet her? I think you'll find her very interesting. The hall erupted in excited chatter. Every delegate wanted to see this impossible creature that humans claimed as a friend. But underneath the excitement, a current of unease ran through the room. What kind of monster would humans choose to befriend? The morning after the cultural exchange session, the station buzzed with quiet activity. In the research archives, Velneth floated before dozens of holographic displays showing human historical records. The crystalline scholar's body glowed with focused concentration as data streams flowed through the air around them. Computer, search for human records containing the terms wolf, bear, lion, and domestication, Velneth commanded. The displays, filled with thousands of entries. Images showed humans standing next to large, powerful animals. Text described something called selective breeding, and animal training. Videos showed humans playing with creatures that looked capable of tearing them apart. Thesik entered the archive chamber, his heavy footsteps echoing off the walls. "Have you found anything useful, scholar?" "I have found many things, but I am not certain they are real," Velneth replied. The crystal being's voice carried notes of confusion. "Look at these records." A large display showed an image of a human child sitting on the back of a massive brown creature with long claws and powerful jaws. "The human database says this is a bear," Velneth explained. "According to their measurements, this creature weighs more than 4 adult humans and has claws that can tear through tree bark. Yet this small human appears completely safe." Thesik studied the image with his military training. "The creature does look dangerous. Those claws could disembowel a soldier in seconds. But maybe the image is fake? Or perhaps the creature is already dead?" "That was my first thought too," Velneth agreed. "But there are thousands of similar images. Videos showing these bears responding to human commands. Records of bears protecting human settlements from other predators. More delegates arrived throughout the morning. Pip scurried in on short legs, followed by the tall, elegant Aquan representative Dimar, whose breathing apparatus made soft, bubbling sounds as she moved. "We heard you were researching the human claims," Dimar said, her webbed hands gesturing toward the displays. "What have you discovered?" Velneth manipulated the controls to show new images. "Even stranger things. Look at this creature they call a wolf." The display showed a pack of gray animals with sharp teeth and intelligent eyes. They moved with coordinated precision that spoke of advanced hunting instincts. "Wolves hunt in groups," Velneth continued. "They can run for hours without stopping. Their bite force can crush bones. According to these records, ancient humans lived in constant fear of wolf packs." "That makes sense," Thesik nodded. "Pack hunters are among the most dangerous predators. How did humans survive them?" Velneth's crystal body flickered between colors as emotions affected the mineral structure. "According to these records, humans did not just survive wolves. They convinced wolves to join human packs instead." The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of the station's systems and Dimar's breathing apparatus. "That cannot be correct," Pip squeaked. "Pack hunters only work with their own species. It is impossible for different species to form hunting packs together." "Yet the evidence continues," Velneth said, bringing up new displays. "Humans have records of wolves living in human settlements, protecting human children, helping humans hunt other animals. The humans call these wolves dogs and treat them as family members." Dr. Sora entered the archive chamber carrying a cup of tea and a data pad. She had been looking for references to her own research when she heard the animated discussion. "Oh, you're researching domestication," she said cheerfully. "Are you finding the records helpful?" The alien delegates turned to stare at her. Thesik was the first to speak. "Dr. Sora, these records must be mythological, yes? Humans could not actually live alongside apex predators. The psychological trauma alone would destroy your civilization." Sora blinked in surprise. "Trauma? Why would there be trauma? Dogs are wonderful companions. Most human families have at least one dog. Children grow up playing with them. But these dogs are clearly predators," Dimar said, pointing at images of animals with obvious carnivorous features. "Their teeth are designed for tearing flesh. Their muscles are built for bringing down prey." "Well, yes," Sora agreed. "Dogs are descended from wolves, but they've been our partners for so long that they've evolved alongside us. They're naturally protective of human families, especially children." Velneth's crystalline form began to pulse with rapid color changes. "You are saying that apex predators evolved to protect the young of a different species? This goes against every principle of evolutionary biology." Sora sat down at one of the research terminals and began pulling up more detailed records. "It's not just dogs. Humans have successful partnerships with dozens of predator species. Cats that hunt small, prey in our homes and food storage areas, falcons that help us hunt from the air, even some larger predators like horses." "Horses are predators?" Pip asked, confused. Not carnivorous predators, but large animals with powerful legs that can easily kill humans with a single kick. Yet, humans ride on their backs and trust them completely. The delegates exchanged glances. This human was clearly intelligent and educated, but what she described sounded impossible. Thesic pulled up tactical analyses on his personal display. Dr. Sora, I have reviewed combat data on these creatures you call dogs. A single adult specimen could defeat 3 trained Vorthak soldiers in close combat. How do humans survive living with such weapons? Because they're not weapons, Sora said patiently. They're family. Dogs don't want to hurt humans. They want to protect us and make us happy. In return, we take care of them, feed them, and give them safe places to live. But how do you control them? Dimar asked. Surely you must use some form of neural implants or chemical suppression. No artificial control at all. Sora shook her head. Dogs want to cooperate with humans because we've built thousands of years of trust. They know we're not threats to them, and we know they're not threats to us. Velneth accessed more human records and found something that made the crystal being's entire body flash bright orange with shock. Dr. Sora, I am finding records of humans who live with creatures called lions and tigers. These appear to be solitary apex predators larger than your dogs. Surely these records are fictional. Sora looked at the images Velneth had found. Oh, those are probably from wildlife sanctuaries or zoos. Some humans dedicate their lives to caring for big cats that can't survive in the wild. It requires special training and knowledge, but yes, some humans do form bonds with lions and tigers. The archive chamber fell silent, except for the quiet sounds of the station's life support systems. Each delegate was struggling to process information that challenged their basic understanding of predator-prey relationships. Finally, Thesic spoke in a voice much quieter than his usual commanding tone. Dr. Sora, are you telling us that humans regularly live in close contact with creatures that could kill them instantly, and these creatures choose not to harm humans? That's exactly what I'm telling you, Sora replied. And it works both ways. Humans have the tools and knowledge to easily harm our animal partners, but we choose not to because we care about them. Pip-Pip's whiskers were twitching so rapidly, they were almost a blur. But why would predators give up their natural hunting instincts? They don't give up hunting, Sora explained. Dogs still have all their hunting instincts, but they've learned to hunt cooperatively with humans instead of hunting humans. It's actually much more efficient for everyone involved. The station's communication system chimed with an announcement. Transport vessel pack leader has entered the system and is requesting docking permission. Estimated arrival time 6 hours. Ambassador Hyun Ki's voice came over the intercom. All delegates interested in meeting my companion should gather in the main docking bay at 1400 hours station time. As the announcement ended, the delegates in the archive chamber looked at each other with expressions ranging from excitement to terror. 6 hours, Velneth whispered, colors shifting rapidly through the crystal body. In 6 hours we will see if these impossible claims are true. Dr. Sora smiled and gathered her research materials. I think you're going to be very surprised. Hyunki's companion is particularly special, even by human standards. As she left the archive chamber, the alien delegates remained behind, frantically searching through more human records and trying to prepare themselves for something their sciences said should not exist. Outside the great windows, the transport ship pack leader grew slowly larger against the stars, carrying what might be the most dangerous creature any of them had ever encountered, or, if the humans were telling the truth, the most friendly. The docking bay had never seen so many delegates gathered in one place. Beings from 12 different species crowded behind the safety barriers that the station's security systems had automatically erected. Red warning lights pulsed slowly along. The walls and the air carried the metallic taste that came from the emergency force fields being on standby. Ambassador Hyunki stood calmly near the airlock, wearing a simple gray jumpsuit instead of her formal diplomatic robes. She seemed completely relaxed, even humming softly to herself as she waited. Her behavior only made the watching delegates more nervous. The human shows no fear, Thesic observed to Velneth. The Vorthak commander had positioned himself where he could quickly reach the emergency controls if needed. Either she is very brave or very foolish. Velneth's crystalline form was cycling through worried purple and orange colors. According to my research, humans often display irrational behavior when dealing with dangerous predators. Perhaps this is an example of their species' psychological defenses. Dr. Sora approached the safety barrier, carrying a medical scanner and a small bag of supplies. Unlike the other observers, she looked excited rather than concerned. Hyun-ki asked me to bring some basic medical supplies, she explained to the nearby delegates. Long space flights can be hard on Earth animals, especially their first time in artificial gravity. Pip-Pip's entire body was trembling with anxiety. You are going to get close to this creature? Without protective armor? Of course, Sora replied, adjusting her scanner settings. I'm a xenobiologist. Understanding different life forms is my specialty. Besides, I've known Bada since she was young. You know the creature's name? Dimar asked, her breathing apparatus bubbling more rapidly than usual. How long have humans been in contact with this predator? About 8 years, Sora said casually. Bada was born on Earth and has lived with humans her entire life. She's probably more comfortable around people than around her own species. The delegates exchanged alarmed glances. 8 years was long enough for a predator to learn human weaknesses and plan complex attacks. The fact that this creature had been studying humans for most of its life made it even more dangerous. The station's AI spoke in calm, measured tones. Transport vessel pack leader has completed docking procedures. Atmospheric pressure equalized, gravity stabilized, opening airlock in 60 seconds. Security Chief Ranok, a tall being from a species known for their caution, activated his communicator. All security teams to alert status. Medical teams standing by. Emergency containment systems ready for deployment. That won't be necessary, Hyun-ki called out, but her voice was drowned out by the hum of charging force field generators. The airlock door began to slide open with a soft hissing sound. Every being in the docking bay tensed, ready to flee or fight depending on what emerged from the transport ship. A figure appeared in the doorway. It was clearly human, wearing the blue uniform of Earth's Space Service. Lieutenant Jae-ho was young, perhaps 30 Earth years, with short black hair and calm, intelligent eyes. He looked completely ordinary except for one thing. Walking beside him was the largest predator most of the delegates had ever seen. The creature stood as tall as Jae-ho's waist and was nearly twice as long as it was tall. Its body was covered in thick, dark fur that looked soft, but powerful muscles rippled underneath with each step. Its head was broad and strong, with ears that moved constantly to track sounds from all directions. Most striking were its eyes, which were a warm amber color and held unmistakable intelligence. The creature's mouth was slightly open, showing teeth that could easily crush bones. Its paws were huge, with claws that clicked softly against the metal deck plates. Every line of its body spoke of speed, strength, and deadly efficiency. But it walked calmly at the human's side, occasionally glancing up at him with what looked almost like affection. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Bada, Jae-ho said cheerfully, as if he were introducing a colleague rather than presenting a living weapon. She's a Kangal Mastiff hybrid, bred for intelligence, loyalty, and protective instincts. The creature, Bada, sat down when Jae-ho stopped walking. Her tail moved in, slow sweeping motions against the deck. She looked around at all the watching aliens with curious interest but showed no signs of aggression. Jae-ho reached down and scratched behind her ears. Bada's eyes closed partway, and she leaned into his touch, clearly enjoying the attention. A low rumbling sound came from her throat that the universal translators couldn't process. She's purring, Sora explained to the stunned delegates. It's a sound dogs make when they're happy and relaxed. The security scanners were working frantically, analyzing every aspect of the creature's biology. The results appeared on displays throughout the bay, and they made terrifying reading. Bite force, sufficient to crush most known metals. Running speed, faster than station security vehicles. Reaction time, 3 times faster than the quickest Vorthak warrior. Muscle density, comparable to industrial equipment. Yet the creature continued to sit peacefully, tail wagging, while the human petted her head. "This is impossible," Thesic breathed. His scales had shifted to the dark patterns that indicated extreme stress among his people. No predator behaves this way around potential prey. Hyunki walked over to join Jaeho and Bada. The massive creature immediately stood and moved to greet her, making soft whining sounds of happiness. Hyunki knelt down and wrapped her arms around Bada's neck in what looked like a hug. "Hello, beautiful girl," Hyunki said softly. "Did you have a good trip? I missed you so much." Bada's tail wagged harder, and she pressed her massive head against Hyunki's shoulder. The display of obvious affection between human and predator left the watching delegates speechless. "How is this possible?" Velneth asked, colors flashing rapidly through the crystal body. Every biological instinct should drive that creature to attack. Humans are the perfect size for prey. "You have no natural weapons, no protective armor, no escape speed." Jaeho looked up from where he was checking Bada's paws for any injuries from the spaceflight. "Attack us? Why would she want to hurt us? We're her family. She loves us and we love her." "Love?" Pip Pip squeaked. "Predators do not feel love for other species. They feel hunger." "Bada feels plenty of love," Jaeho said, producing a small rubber ball from his pocket. "Watch this." He threw the ball across the open area of the docking bay. Bada immediately bounded after it with fluid grace, her powerful muscles propelling her at incredible speed. She caught the ball in her jaws, spun around, and raced back to Jaeho. Instead of keeping the ball or running away with it, she dropped it at his feet and sat down, tail wagging expectantly. "Good girl," Jaeho praised, scratching under her chin. Bada's eyes closed with obvious pleasure. Dr. Sora approached with her medical scanner, and the watching delegates held their breath. Surely the predator would see this as a threat and attack. Instead, Bada sniffed the scanner curiously, then looked to Jaeho for guidance. "It's okay, girl," he said gently. "Sora is a friend. She just wants to make sure you're healthy after your long trip." Bada stood still while Sora ran the scanner over her body, checking vital signs and stress indicators. The results showed a healthy, relaxed animal with no signs of aggression or distress. "Her cortisol levels are actually lower than they were on Earth," Sora announced. "She's not stressed at all. If anything, she seems excited to be here." "Of course she's excited," Hyunki said, still kneeling beside Bada. "She loves meeting new people. Don't you, sweetie?" Bada's response was to lick Hyunki's face with a tongue the size of a human hand. Hyunki laughed and tried to dodge the affectionate assault. Security Chief Ranok stepped forward cautiously. "Ambassador, I must ask about safety protocols. That creature could kill dozens of beings in minutes if it chose to attack." Jaeho looked genuinely puzzled. "Why would she attack anyone? Bada has never hurt a person in her entire life. She was trained from birth to protect humans, not harm them." "But she's a predator," Ranok insisted. "Predators kill, it's their nature." "She is a predator," Hyunki agreed, standing up and dusting off her clothes. "But she's also family. Humans learned long ago that the best way to deal with dangerous animals isn't to fight them or hide from them. It's to earn their trust and friendship." Bada seemed to sense that she was the center of attention. She looked around at all the watching aliens, her tail wagging slowly. Then, to everyone's amazement, she lowered her front end while keeping her rear end up, tail wagging furiously. "She wants to play," Sora explained with delight. "That's a playbow. She's inviting everyone to be friends." The enormous predator bounced slightly on her front paws, clearly hoping someone would accept her invitation to play. Her mouth was open in what humans recognized as a happy expression, tongue hanging out. "She thinks you all look interesting and wants to get to know you better," Jaeho said. "Of course, we understand if you need time to get comfortable with the idea." Thesic stared at the playful predator with the expression of someone whose entire worldview was crumbling. "In all, my years of military service fighting the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, I have never seen anything like this." Velneth's crystal body had stabilized into a steady pattern of amazed blue and green. "The implications are staggering," If humans can form genuine partnerships with apex predators, what does this say about the nature of interspecies cooperation? Pip-Pip was still trembling, but now it seemed to be from excitement rather than fear. Could it be possible? Could there be other ways to deal with the dangerous creatures on our worlds besides fighting or hiding? Dr. Sora smiled as she packed away her medical scanner. Why don't you ask Bada yourself? She's very good at making friends even with species she's never met before. The great predator continued her playbow, tail wagging hopefully as she looked at the gathered delegates. Her amber eyes held no threat, only curiosity and an obvious desire for friendship. For the first time in galactic history, Apex Predator met alien diplomats not as hunter and prey, but as potential friends. The question was, would the diplomats be brave enough to accept the invitation? Word spread through the station faster than atmosphere through a hull breach. Within an hour of Bada's arrival, crowds of beings from every species gathered along the main promenade. They pressed against viewing windows and crowded walkway intersections, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the impossible creature. Hyunki, Jae-ho, and Bada walked slowly through the station's central corridor. The massive predator moved with calm confidence, her claws clicking softly on the deck plating. She looked around with obvious interest, ears swiveling to track new sounds and smells. She's beautiful, whispered a young Nexari child, pressing against the safety barrier that had been hastily erected along their path. The child's crystalline body glowed with excitement. Bada heard the whisper and turned toward the sound. When she saw the small being, her tail wagged faster, and she took a step in that direction. Immediately, alarm sirens began wailing. Emergency. Force field snapped to life between Beta and the crowd. Security personnel rushed forward with weapons drawn. Stand down, Hyunki said firmly, raising her hand. She was just curious about the child. She has no intention of causing harm. That creature is moving toward civilians. Security Chief Ranok barked into his communicator. All units prepare for emergency containment. Jae-ho knelt beside Beta and gently placed his hand on her head. Easy, girl. I know you want to say hello, but we need to go slow. These people aren't used to dogs yet. Bada sat down immediately, looking up at Jae-ho with trust and understanding. Her tongue lolled out in a happy expression, but she made no attempt to move toward the crowd. Dr. Sora approached the security chief. Chief Ranok, may I suggest a different approach? Instead of treating Beta as a threat, why not let her demonstrate her true nature? Absolutely not, Ranok replied. That predator could kill dozens of beings before we could stop it. But she won't, Sora insisted. Look at her body language. Her ears are forward and relaxed, her tail is wagging. Her mouth is open in a play expression. These are all signs of friendliness, not aggression. Thesek pushed through the crowd of security personnel. The Vorthak commander had been following at a distance, studying Bada's every movement with his military training. Dr. Sora, you keep saying this creature is safe, but my tactical analysis shows it could break through these force fields in seconds. How do you know it won't attack? Because I know Bada, Sora replied. But more than that, watch how she responds to Jae-ho. A wild predator wouldn't show such deference to another being. Jae-ho had produced a small treat from his pocket. He held it up where Bada could see it, then gave her a hand signal. The massive dog immediately laid down and rolled onto her side, exposing her belly in a gesture of complete trust. Good girl, Jae-ho said, giving her the treat. Bada's tail thumped against the deck as she chewed happily. The watching aliens fell silent. Even the most basic understanding of predator behavior told them that no dangerous animal would voluntarily expose its most vulnerable areas unless it felt completely safe. Belnath floated closer to the force field barrier. Lieutenant Jae-ho, may I ask how you trained this creature to perform such behaviors? We didn't train her to do anything against her nature, Jae-ho explained, helping Bada back to her feet. Dogs naturally want to please the humans they bond with. All we did was teach her which behaviors make us happy. But surely you must use some form of punishment when she misbehaves, Thesek asked. No punishment necessary, Hyunki said, joining the conversation. When Bada does something we don't want, we simply don't reward it. When she does something good, we give her attention, treats, or playtime. She learns quickly because she wants to make us happy. Pip-Pip had been watching from a safe distance, but curiosity was slowly overcoming fear. What happens if she becomes angry or aggressive? Jay-Ho thought for a moment. Bada has never been truly aggressive toward a human. If she's scared or unsure about something, she comes to us for guidance. Watch this. He pulled out a small device that made a high-pitched, electronic beeping sound. Bada's ears immediately flattened and she pressed against Jay-Ho's leg, clearly uncomfortable with the noise. Instead of attacking the source of her discomfort, she looked up at Jay-Ho with worried eyes, seeking reassurance. Jay-Ho immediately turned off the device and knelt down to comfort her. "It's okay, girl, that was just a test, you're safe." He scratched behind her ears and spoke in soothing tones until her tail began wagging again. "Remarkable," Velneth breathed, colors shifting rapidly through amazement. She sought protection rather than responding with violence. A commotion near. The back of the crowd caught everyone's attention. A group of Vorthak military officers was pushing through the gathered beings, led by a scarred veteran named Kreshtar. "Commander Thesik," Kreshtar called out. "I hear there are claims about humans taming predators. My unit requests permission to conduct proper tests." Thesik's scales shifted to darker patterns of concern. "Kreshtar, what kind of tests?" "Combat assessments, threat response evaluations. We need to determine if this creature is truly as docile as the humans claim, or if it's simply waiting for the right moment to attack." Hyunki stepped forward before Thesik could respond. "What did you have in mind, Officer Kreshtar?" Kreshtar's eyes glittered with challenge. "Obstacle courses to test speed and agility. Reaction tests to measure aggression thresholds. Scenarios to see how the creature responds to perceived threats." "I'm willing to demonstrate Bada's capabilities," Hyunki said calmly, "but only if we can do it safely for everyone involved." Dr. Sora looked concerned. "Hyunki, are you sure about this? These tests could be dangerous if they don't understand how to interact with dogs." "The best way to build understanding is through demonstration," Hyunki replied. "Besides, Bada enjoys showing off. Don't you, beautiful?" Bada's tail wagged enthusiastically at the attention, and she gave a soft woof of agreement that made several aliens jump. Within an hour, the station's main recreation area had been converted into a testing ground. Obstacles had been set up to challenge speed and agility. Intelligence puzzles waited to test problem-solving abilities. Various scenarios had been designed to evaluate Beta's responses to different situations. Hundreds of beings gathered in the observation galleries, watching through reinforced windows as the tests began. The first challenge was a simple obstacle course designed to measure physical capabilities. Jay-Ho walked Beta to the starting line and gave her a simple command. "Bada course." The massive dog immediately bounded forward with fluid grace. She leaped over barriers twice her height, wove through tight spaces with surprising agility, and navigated complex puzzles that required both intelligence and physical coordination. Her time was fast enough to impress even the Vorthak military observers. But what amazed them most was what happened at the end. Instead of continuing to run or claiming some kind of victory, Bada immediately returned to Jay-Ho and sat down beside him, looking up expectantly for approval. "Good girl," he said, giving her enthusiastic praise and a treat. Beta's entire body wiggled with happiness at the positive attention. The next test involved problem-solving. A complex puzzle box was placed in the center of the area, designed to challenge intelligence and persistence. Most species required tools or advanced reasoning to solve it. Bada approached the box and spent several minutes investigating it with her nose and paws. She tried different approaches, showing clear thought processes as she worked through the problem. When she finally solved it and retrieved the treat inside, she immediately brought it back to share with Jay-Ho. "She's not just intelligent," Velneth observed. "She's genuinely cooperative. She could have eaten that reward herself, but she chose to share it." The final test was the most crucial. Kreshtar had designed a scenario to test aggressive responses. A mechanical threat simulator would approach Bada with hostile movements and loud noises, designed to trigger defensive instincts. "Are you certain you want to proceed with this test?" Thesik asked Hyunki. If the creature attacks the simulator, we'll know its true nature. I'm confident in Bada's training, Hyun-ki replied. But more than that, I trust her judgment. The simulator activated and began moving toward Bada with jerky, threatening motions while emitting harsh sounds designed to provoke aggression. The watching crowd tensed, expecting the predator to finally show its true nature. Instead, Bada did something that left everyone stunned. She positioned herself between the simulator and Jae-ho, but instead of attacking, she looked back at him for guidance. Her body language was alert and protective, but she was clearly waiting for instructions rather than acting on instinct. Bada, guard, Jae-ho said quietly. The massive dog immediately moved to a defensive position, watching the simulator carefully, but making no aggressive moves. When the machine got too close, she gave a single deep bark that resonated through the recreation area like thunder. The simulator stopped advancing, programmed to respond to signs of effective deterrence. Bada continued to watch it carefully, ready to protect her human family but showing remarkable restraint such powerful creature. Bada, friend, Jae-ho said, changing his command. Immediately, Bada's entire posture relaxed. Her tail began wagging, and she approached the now still simulator with curiosity rather than suspicion. She even sniffed it gently. The emergency session was called at midnight station time, when most of the civilian population would be resting. In the secure conference room deep within the station's core, delegates from every major species gathered around a table that seemed too small for the weight of their discussions. Thesik sat with his head in his hands, his scales showing patterns of deep confusion. We need to completely revise our understanding of human civilization. Everything we thought we knew is wrong. Velneth hovered nearby, crystal body flickering between colors so rapidly it created a strobing effect. I have spent the last 6 hours analyzing human databases. The pattern is not limited to dogs. Humans have formed partnerships with predators from every ecological niche. The scholar activated a holographic display showing dozens of species. Aerial predators like hawks and falcons that hunt with humans from the sky. Aquatic hunters like dolphins that coordinate with human fishing fleets. Even some sharks have been known to recognize individual humans and interact peacefully. Pip-Pip was curled into a tight ball of anxiety, whiskers twitching constantly. But how is this possible? Every principle of evolution says that predators and prey cannot coexist peacefully. That's just it, Dr. Sora said, entering the conference room with Ambassador Hyun-ki. Both humans looked tired but excited. We're not really predator and prey anymore. We've moved beyond that relationship into something entirely new. Dimar's breathing apparatus bubbled more rapidly than usual. Dr. Sora, I have reviewed footage of humans swimming with creatures you call dolphins. These marine mammals are apex predators with the intelligence to hunt in coordinated groups, yet they appear to enjoy human company. Dolphins are incredibly social, Sora explained, taking a seat at the table. They're also highly intelligent and curious about other species. When humans approach them with respect and understanding, dolphins often respond with friendship. Security Chief Ranok leaned forward. But surely there must be failures. Incidents where these partnerships go wrong and humans are killed. Of course there are risks, Hyun-ki admitted. Any relationship with a powerful animal carries some danger. But statistically, humans are far safer working with trained animals than fighting against wild ones. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. The room's main display activated to show the seal of the Galactic Council. Urgent communication from the Council, the station AI announced. Multiple reports are being received from human colonies across known space. The display filled with dozens of incident reports. Each one described similar situations. Human settlers arriving at new worlds with mysterious companions that other species considered dangerous predators. Thesik read from one report. Colony ship New Seoul landed on Kepler 438b with a cargo hold containing 50 large predators described as horses. Local Vorthak mining operation evacuated in panic when humans began riding these creatures across the landscape. Another report caught Velneth's attention. Human Research Station on Proxima B reports successful integration of local wolf analogs into their security patrols. Neighboring Nexari outpost requests immediate diplomatic intervention. The reports kept coming. Humans working with bear-like creatures on ice worlds. Humans training local big cats on jungle planets. Humans forming bonds with flying predators on worlds with thick atmospheres. This is happening everywhere. Pip-Pip squeaked in amazement. Humans are making friends with dangerous creatures on every world they settle. Dr. Sora pulled up additional data on her personal tablet. Actually, this makes perfect sense from an ecological standpoint. When humans arrive on a new world, we study the local predators to understand the ecosystem. Often we find ways to work with them instead of against them. But why? Dimar asked, her voice carrying genuine confusion. Why risk forming relationships with creatures that could kill you? Hyun-Ki was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Because the alternative is worse. Fighting against the natural predators of a world is expensive, dangerous, and often impossible. But if you can convince them to work with you instead, everyone benefits. Velneth accessed more detailed human records. I am finding historical data that supports this. On Earth, humans who learned to work with wolves became more successful hunters. Humans who partnered with horses could travel faster and carry more supplies. Humans who befriended cats had fewer problems with agricultural pests. So it started as survival strategy, Thesik mused. But it became something more. Much more, Sora agreed. Over thousands of years, these partnerships evolved into genuine emotional bonds. Humans began caring for animals not just for practical benefits, but because we grew to love them. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Every species present had spent their evolutionary history viewing dangerous predators as enemies to be defeated or avoided. Humans had chosen a completely different path. Kreshtar, who had been quietly reviewing tactical data, suddenly looked up with wide eyes. Commander Thesik, I have been analyzing the military applications of human-animal partnerships. A single human with a trained predator companion is more effective than an entire squad of our best soldiers. What do you mean? Thesik asked. Consider what we observed today. That creature Bada has the physical capabilities of our heaviest assault units, but she also has intelligence, initiative, and emotional investment in protecting her human partners. She is not just a weapon, she is a thinking, caring ally. Velneth's crystal body began glowing brighter as excitement built. The tactical advantages are enormous, but more important are the psychological benefits. Humans who work with animal partners show lower stress levels, better mental health, and stronger social bonds. It explains so much about human behavior, Pip-Pip said, beginning to uncurl from his anxious ball. Humans are calmer and more confident than most species because they are never truly alone. They always have allies. Dr. Sora smiled. That's exactly right. Dogs like Bada don't just provide protection and companionship. They provide emotional support, unconditional love, and a sense of purpose. Caring for another being makes humans happier and more stable. Another priority message arrived, this one from the Human Colony Administration. The display showed a live feed from Earth, where thousands of humans could be seen in parks and open spaces, all accompanied by various animal companions. By the ancestors, Thesik breathed. There are millions of them, millions of predators, living peacefully among human civilians. Not just living among us, Hyun-Ki corrected, living as part of our families. Human children grow up with animal companions. They learn empathy, responsibility, and respect for other life forms from a very early age. Velneth was rapidly processing implications. This changes everything we know about human psychology. You are not just individual beings competing for resources. You are a multi-species alliance working together for mutual benefit. And we've been doing it for so long that it's become natural to us, Sora added. When humans encounter a new species, our first instinct isn't to fight or flee. It's to see if we can find common ground and build a relationship. Security Chief Ranok had been reviewing his own data files. I am seeing reports of human diplomats bringing animal companions to other first contact situations, always with positive results. Animals are excellent ambassadors, Hyun-ki explained. They communicate through body language and emotion rather than words. They can help bridge gaps between species that might struggle to understand each other verbally. The conference room's atmosphere had completely changed. Where there had been confusion and concern, now there was wonder and excitement. The alien. Delegates were beginning to see possibilities they had never imagined. Thesek stood and began pacing, his military mind working through scenarios. My people have been fighting tunnel worms for 500 years. We have lost thousands of soldiers and spent enormous resources on weapons and defenses. But what if there was another way? What are you thinking? Velneth asked. What if we could communicate with the tunnel worms? What if they attack our mining operations because they feel threatened, not because they are naturally hostile? What if we could find a way to work together instead of fighting? Pip-Pip's whiskers began twitching with excitement rather than fear. Our storm devourers consume metal because they need certain minerals to survive. What if we could provide those minerals in exchange for them leaving our settlements alone? Dr. Sora leaned forward eagerly. These are exactly the kinds of questions human xenobiologists love to explore. We specialize in understanding the needs and behaviors of different species. And we would be willing to help, Hyun-ki added. Sharing knowledge and techniques for building relationships with other species is something humans have always done freely. Velneth was glowing so brightly now that the other delegates had to adjust their vision. The Nexari Council must hear of this immediately. If there is any possibility of communicating with the Void Stalkers, of understanding their motivations and needs, it could end millennia of fear. The station's communication system activated again. All delegates, please note that visiting hours for companion animal interactions have been scheduled for tomorrow. Ambassador Yun-ki and Lieutenant Jae-ho have volunteered to facilitate introductions between interested beings and Bada. A long moment of silence followed the announcement. Finally, Pip-Pip spoke in a voice filled with wonder. Tomorrow, we might actually be able to meet a predator as a friend instead of an enemy. Tomorrow, Thesek agreed, we begin to learn what humans have always known, that the universe is full of potential allies if we are brave enough to extend our hand in friendship. As the emergency session ended and delegates began to disperse, each was lost in thoughts of their own worlds and the dangerous creatures that lived there. For the first time in their species' histories, they were wondering not how to defeat those creatures, but how to understand them. Outside the conference room windows, Bada could be seen sleeping peacefully in the human quarters, completely unaware that she had just started a revolution in interspecies thinking. The age of fighting monsters was ending. The age of befriending them was about to begin. The final diplomatic session took place in the station's Grand Assembly Hall, but the atmosphere was completely different from the opening ceremony. Where once there had been formal distance and careful protocol, now there was excitement and genuine curiosity. Ambassador Hyun-ki sat at the central table with Bada lying calmly beside her chair. The massive dog had become such a familiar presence that security barriers were no longer needed. Several delegates had even requested seating, closer to the human delegation so they could observe Bada more easily. Thesek was the first to speak when the session began. His scales showed patterns of determination mixed with hope. Ambassador Hyun-ki, on behalf of the Vorthak Confederation, I wish to make a formal request. We would like human assistance in developing new approaches to our tunnel worm situation. The hall buzzed with interested murmurs. This was the first time in recorded history that the proud Vorthak had asked another species for help with their homeworld problems. We would be honored to help, Hyun-ki replied. Dr. Sora has already begun researching tunnel worm biology and behavior patterns. What we've found so far is very encouraging. Dr. Sora stood and activated a holographic display showing tunnel worm data. Based on your historical records, tunnel worms appear to be highly territorial but also highly intelligent. They attack mining operations because they perceive them as invasions of their nesting areas. But we need those deep metals for our technology, Thesek protested. Our civilization depends on them. What if the tunnel worms need something too? Sora suggested. Most territorial conflicts arise from competition for resources. If we can identify what the tunnel worms require and find ways to provide it, they might be willing to allow limited mining in exchange. Velneth floated forward, crystal body glowing with excitement. Dr. Sora, are you suggesting that tunnel worms might be capable of negotiation? Many Earth predators are capable of much more complex reasoning than we initially realized, Sora explained. Wolves understand territory agreements. Bears can learn to associate certain areas with food sources. Even sharks can be trained to recognize boundaries. Thesic was quiet for a long moment, processing this revolutionary concept. You are saying that instead of fighting the tunnel worms, we might be able to make agreements with them? It's possible, Yunki said. It would require careful study, patience, and a willingness to see tunnel worms as intelligent beings rather than mindless monsters. At this point, Pip-Pip stood up on his short legs, whiskers twitching with nervous excitement. If the Vorthak can make peace with tunnel worms, then perhaps the Cathari could find new approaches to storm devourers. Dr. Sora's eyes lit up with interest. Tell me more about these storm devourers. What do they actually consume when they attack? Your settlements? They devour any metal they can find, Pip-Pip explained. Tools, machinery, even the metal traces in our blood and bones, but they ignore organic materials completely. That suggests they have a specific biological need for certain minerals, Sora mused. On Earth, many creatures consume unusual substances because their bodies require specific nutrients. If storm devourers need particular metals to survive, we might be able to provide those metals in controlled ways. You mean, feed them? Pip-Pip asked, his voice filled with wonder at the concept. Exactly. Instead of forcing storm devourers to hunt for the metals they need, you could create feeding stations in safe areas. In exchange, they might agree to avoid your populated regions. The hall erupted in excited discussions as delegates began to see possibilities for their own worlds. The Aquan representative Dimar stood and addressed the assembly. If these partnership approaches can work for land-based predators, might they also work for ocean dwellers? Our people have always fled from the deep singers, massive creatures that hunt in our ocean trenches. But perhaps we have never tried to understand what they truly want. Marine mammals on Earth are often highly social and intelligent, Sora said enthusiastically. Whales, dolphins, even some species of sharks form complex social structures. Your deep singers might be trying to communicate rather than simply hunt. Velneth's crystal body was now glowing so brightly that other delegates needed to shield their eyes. The implications are staggering. For the Nexari, the greatest hope would be understanding the Void Stalkers. Tell me about them, Dr. Sora said, leaning forward with scientific curiosity. They exist partially outside normal space-time, Velneth explained. They appear without warning, drain life energy from living beings, then vanish back into whatever dimension they inhabit. We have never been able to communicate with them or predict their movements. Interdimensional beings would certainly be challenging, Sora admitted, but even they must have motivations and needs. Perhaps they take life energy because they lack access to other energy sources in their native dimension. You think they might be hungry? Velneth asked, colors shifting rapidly with amazement. It's possible. If we could find alternative energy sources that meet their needs, they might not require life energy from your people. Lieutenant Jeho, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. On Earth, we've learned that even the most dangerous predators usually prefer easy meals over difficult hunts. If you can provide what they need without conflict, most creatures will choose the peaceful option. Bada, as if responding to her name being mentioned in the conversation, lifted her head and looked around the assembly. Her amber eyes were calm and friendly as she observed all the different species discussing cooperation and peace. Several young delegates from various species had been watching Bada throughout the session. Finally, one small Nexari asked the question they were all thinking. Ambassador Hyunki, would it be possible for us to meet Bada more closely? We would like to understand how interspecies friendship actually works. Hyunki smiled warmly. I think Bada would love that. She's been wanting to make friends with all of you since she arrived. Security Chief Ranok started to object, but Thesic held up a hand to stop him. "Chief, I believe it is time we trusted the humans' expertise in this matter." Over the next hour, small groups of delegates approached the human delegation area. Under careful guidance from Hyun-Ki and Jae-ho, they learned how to interact safely with Bada. The massive dog was patient and gentle with each new species. She allowed the crystalline Nexari to touch her fur with their hard mineral hands. She sat calmly while the aquatic Aquan used her breathing apparatus to analyze Bada's scent. She even tolerated the tiny Cathari climbing onto her back for a brief ride. With each positive interaction, the delegates grew more confident. They began to see Bada not as a dangerous predator, but as a friendly individual with her own personality and preferences. "She likes having her ears scratched," observed a young Vorthak diplomat, carefully following Jae-ho's instructions for safe petting techniques. "And she brings toys to people she wants to play with," added a Nexari scholar who had received the honor of a slobbery tennis ball. As the session continued, the delegates began sharing ideas for applying human partnership techniques to their own worlds. Research teams were proposed, exchange programs were discussed. Several species requested permanent human advisors to help them develop new approaches to their predator problems. "This represents the largest shift in interspecies policy in galactic history," Velneth observed. "We are moving from a paradigm of conquest and avoidance to one of cooperation and understanding." Ambassador Hyun-Ki stood for her closing remarks, with Bada sitting attentively beside her. "For thousands of years, humans have believed that the universe is full of potential friends. Some relationships require more work than others. Some creatures will never be compatible with civilization, but many others are simply waiting for someone to extend a hand in friendship." She reached down to scratch Bada's ears, and the big dog's tail wagged with obvious happiness. "Bada has taught all of us that strength and gentleness can coexist, that intelligence and loyalty can work together, that the most powerful creatures can also be the most loving, if they are treated with respect and care." Thesic stood and spoke formally. "The Vorthak Confederation officially requests the establishment of a human Vorthak cooperative research initiative to study tunnel worm behavior and develop peaceful coexistence protocols." One by one, other species made similar requests. The Nexari wanted help understanding Voidstalkers. The Cathari needed guidance for approaching storm devourers. The Aquans sought assistance with deep singer communication. As the session concluded, delegates began making plans to return to their homeworlds with new hope and new approaches to ancient problems. Many requested to stay in contact with the human delegation for ongoing consultation. Dr. Sora was already making list research priorities and planning expeditions to study various species predator problems. Her xenobiology background would be crucial for understanding alien ecosystems and developing appropriate partnership strategies. Jae-ho spent time with military representatives from several species, discussing how to train security forces for cooperation instead of conflict. The shift from combat thinking to partnership thinking would require significant changes in training and protocols. As the diplomatic gathering officially ended, small groups continued to cluster around.